Hey, good afternoon, everybody. This is the Two Old Farts coming at you. My name is Chuck, and where's the other old fart? He must be running late. Actually, he is running late. He went to the dentist, but he shall be here shortly. But we have our world premiere, very first guest on the show, your friend, my uncle, Uncle Robert Bobby Charbonneau. Welcome to the show.
I'm glad to be here.
Very good to have you. So, my uncle, he is like an automotive genius. He's a guru. He can do just about anything with a car. He's been doing anything with a motor his whole life. He's been in multiple businesses from mechanic all the way up to executive. So take it away, Uncle Bobby, and fill us
Wow.
in.
I'd like to say I'm an automotive guy. And it was almost like after I got out of the service, I didn't know what I was going to do, except I was going to get out of the service. And actually, they didn't even invite me to stay. Actually, that's not true because if I had one higher rating as an ordnanceman, I would have had to stay in. So I have been raised in a military family my entire life. People ask, were you in the service? I go, yeah, I was in for 20 years. They're going, and I've been out for 55. And they're going, whoa, wait a minute. And I go, okay, not really. I was 17 years. I was in the service as a dependent. And then like you, Chuck. And then 3 years I was in the service as a serviceman. So in the Navy. So
Okay.
after I got out, I didn't know what I was going to do because there wasn't a lot of jobs for people that built bombs, rockets, and missiles and armed them and stuff.
Not generally.
So I went to Detroit because my uncles. Well, actually, Chuck, you knew my dad a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit.
He was a very charismatic guy. So he said, "Well, if you're not going to go back, because he thought I should go back into the service, not stay out." He said, "Then I'll give you my brothers and I have a glass company in Michigan, and I will give you my share of it, and you can go, be partners with them in the glass company." So I go, "Hey, that sounds pretty good." Since I didn't know what I was going to do anyway, I don't know anything about glass, but I'm sure I could learn. So, take a rather, I had to work a couple weeks to get enough money to go from Alabama because I was visiting them to, how it is that time you take off. I was in California when I got out and I thought, yeah, I'll go visit my parents in Alabama. I got like $28. I should be able to make it on that. So I had to earn some money to go back up there, to go to Michigan. I went to Michigan in an old 55 Chevy, two-door hardtop that blew the engine in Tennessee. In a second, I have no money. I have just enough money for gas. But you just did stuff like that. So I'm thinking, okay, what am I going to do? I have a pregnant wife. I'm 20 years old, and I have no money, and I blew up my car in Kentucky. So I thought, well, Sue, I go, hey, just sit here. I'm gonna go find a car. She goes, how you gonna find a car? I go, I'm gonna find a car. I had a 55 Chevy two-door hardtop, with the 283, which is a very popular car then.
Yeah.
And so I found an old car of somebody that would trade me a 1950 Oldsmobile.
You went
This
older, not
Oldsmobile,
newer.
yeah, this Oldsmobile was a drag car. I mean, it was for drag racing. That's all they used it for. Had a big Olds 394 in it, slicks on the back, and no exhaust system, just headers. And so, but it ran, so I got it, and they had towed mine back over to the gas station, and made the trade. And so I went around back, found some pieces of exhaust pipes, threw them in the trunk. And it had a floor shift with a hole that was like 14 by 14 in the floorboards. We took off to go to Michigan, and it was it was a very interesting trip. And when I got there, um, I, went to my Uncle Bill's because they knew I was coming. So we got there, it was pretty late at night. And so I'm staying up late talking to my uncle and stuff. I said, well, how's the glass company really doing? And he goes, that went bankrupt like 8 years ago. I'm going, what? I'm going, what? Wait a minute. Wait a minute. He goes, I think I can get you in at Chrysler's because most of my dad's relatives, I had 50 first cousins up there. There's 11 kids in his family, and they all had kids. So, all of my fond memories were of Michigan were in the summer. When my dad would get transferred, we would go spend a month to 6 weeks in Mount Clemens, right by the Great Lakes. And
Right.
we'd stay out at my Uncle Kenny's in Marine City, right on one of the big canals that went to the lake, just having fun. That's all I remember in Michigan. Well, I got there in the biggest snowfall that they had had in like 20 years. And I've never lived in a cold climate before. I lived in the Mediterranean for probably 6.5 years, and we never got snow like that. So I'm going, oh, man, I don't know about this place. So my uncle got me into Chrysler's, and because it paid really well, it paid like more 3 times what I was getting in the service. So I thought, well, and I got insurance immediately, which I didn't have insurance and had a child on the way. And so I'm going, well, I can do this. So I had like a graveyard shift, and it didn't take me long to discover I am not a factory worker. I mean, it's just, I just couldn't do it. I had a job that took the hoods off of a conveyor, would put them on another conveyor, and then you'd go back and get another one. But you had to do it I was doing it like really fast, and this guy goes, "What are you doing?" I go, "I'm putting the hoods on the conveyor." He goes, "Learn to slow walk. You got to slow walk." I go, "I'm 20 years old. I don't know how to slow walk." So I figured that job was so terrible that I'm not exaggerating. I would have to leave a half hour early every day because I was going to turn around at least 2 times, but I still wanted to get to work on time.
What year
So
was this?
this was in 1968.
And what kind of cars were you building at Chrysler?
At Chrysler's. I was in the stamping plant, and we had assembly plant right across. It's kind of, I wasn't living around army bases. I was pretty streetwise, and parts of the world, because of living all over. But I do know that the first job that I had there, it was considered to be really a gravy job. Me and another guy just welded the baffle plates and oil pans. So you had to make a production like 350 an hour, while you were there. But when your production got done, you were done. You couldn't leave, but you were done. You'd have to go sit in the cafeteria or do something. So I'm thinking, well, this should be working. I'm getting paid. But that's the way it was. So I went over there. Second day I was over there, this guy came over and he goes, "Hey, we need a couple guys on the frame line on the assembly," which was across the street. And it says, "We'll take the rookies." These guys all playing cards and stuff. So I go over and finish my day over there, and finish my night over there. And when I get paid, my uncle, I go, "Man, there's something wrong, Uncle Bill, with my paycheck." I said, "The way that it is right now, you know, I worked 40 hours and I got paid for the 40 hours, but I got another 20 hours at time and a half." I go, "How does that work? I was only here 40 hours. But I mean, they messed up. Who do I go see?" And he goes, "Well, you finished your production, so that counted. You got paid for the whole day, and then the rest is overtime." I'm going, "Well, that's pretty good."
Well, it's
Well,
you.
it was only like a day later somebody else discovered that had seniority that they wanted that job, that we finished production early all the time. So that was my experience in the factory, and decided wasn't going to work on the factory. We went to they went on strike. So that was right after my son was born, so that was taken care of by the insurance. And I go, I don't care what happens, I'm not going back. So, so I went to work for $1 an hour, running. I was running the gas station. There was a guy who was a manager of Marathon gas stations in Detroit area, and he had bought one that he wanted. He was going to run after he retired. So he was looking for somebody to run it and kind of work on some cars. And I'd worked on cars since I was 9 years old. You know, as your dad knows, my dad liked to drink some beer and have his friends over and work on the cars. But I was the guy that worked on the cars, and he just told me what to do. So
He
I
drank
knew how
beer.
to. Yeah, he drank beer. I mean, his friends, and so that was my job. And so I went to work at that gas station, and I didn't care. I had to open it like at 6 in the morning. Now, this is a brand new gas station in the middle of nowhere. It's on a road that connects two suburbs in Detroit. But at that time, it was all farms, rutabaga farms and sod. They grew sod. And so my only customers really, occasionally somebody would need to get gas partway between, but that didn't happen very often. So it was all farmers working. So I was working on tractors and, then buy the gas from his, and so I was there all the time from 6 in the morning, until 9 o'clock at night. And so my uncle would stop when he got off. We'd work on his truck. So I liked it. Plus when I worked on a car, I got half of the money, half of the profit of that. And the farmers' wives liked me, so they would bring me food over all the time because they'd come in and be like dinner time, and they go, do you never go home?" I go, "Yeah, 9 o'clock at night." And they go, "Oh, well, what do you do for dinner?" I go, "Sometimes I bring stuff, but sometimes I forget to bring stuff." So they would bring me over rutabaga pies or fried chicken. So that was pretty good, but it's still winter. And our snow plow was not a very good one. It had to clear the driveway every day because it was me in a big ass snow shovel. That, and snow in the Midwest isn't fluffy snow like in Colorado. I mean, you get a shovel full of snow and you can barely pick it up. If you have a truck and you fill it with snow, which people let it do that for traction, I mean the truck's sitting, the back end is sitting way down on it. So I did not like winter. I go, I don't think I can stay here. And my wife did not like it. She's from California, and she didn't like it at all because it wasn't California. So I thought, well, March came around, and it was like the middle of March, and there was a sunny day, and I thought, you know what, maybe I can make it, because you get like this spring fever. If it's sun's out and it's 40 degrees in March, everybody's at the parks having picnics, even though there's still snow on the ground, because you haven't seen the snow. You have lake effect, so you don't see the sunshine from the November until usually the middle of March. None. It's daylight, but there's no sunshine. That's why they have so many suicides. So I thought, well, maybe I can do it. And so then it was just before my birthday in May, it snowed. And I go, no way in hell am I staying here. And so you didn't have phones back then. We didn't have a phone. We had rented a basement apartment. And if we needed to use the phone, what I'd call the lady upstairs, and she'd go get Sue, and we were allowed to use, not make phone calls, but if something came up. So I called her. I go, do me a favor. I go, we're moving. My rent's paid till the end of the month. I said, and so would you go down and tell Sue to pack whatever she can fit in the car? And because we're leaving when I get out of here tonight, we're on our way to California. So that's what I did. We packed it up and went to California.
You talk about that snow. My first tour and first job in Nebraska, I'm one of the first one there. It was like 32, 35 degrees. The sun's out, but the snow ain't melting. I said,